Jeffrey Jones. Many families have experienced incidents throughout the years that cannot be explained. Some call them paranormal or supernatural. Others may say that they were haunting, eerie, or weird. Whichever adjective is used, it is meant to say that the cause is unknown, the origin not understood. The fact that they are discussed in hushed tones many years later indicates that the unexplained nature of such occurrences may also have induced a subset of fear. This is the true account of one such happening. 3 young boys, huddled and shaking beneath the protective envelope of an old hand-spun quilt, staring fearfully at the frightening image of unknown monsters in the midst of their midnight bedroom, their minds screaming the question, what are they? The story opens on a small open platform of an Amtrak station in Aurora, Colorado. The year is 1965. The month is June. A mother carrying an infant hustles her 5 other children through the crowd towards the street beyond, and the anxious husband who has endured a 5-month family separation in his quest to find a new homestead for his growing brood. A quest that has taken him from the industrial suburbia that was Detroit, Michigan, to the very footstep of the Rocky Mountains amidst the wide open sky surrounding the then modest skyline of Denver. Their new home is a typical bungalow nestled on a corner lot of a tree-lined street of an unpretentious neighborhood located just blocks from busy Stapleton Airport. Although small, the soundness of the structure and the expansive side yard set the scene for what should have been an idyllic lifestyle in an emblematic American city. The tranquil setting belies the activities that occurred there, and the horror survived by the participants of this devilish nightmare some 45 years ago. The hectic move-in procedures were no different from any other. The confused placement of boxes and other belongings just as frantic. The boys, being of no particular help, were free to explore their new surroundings in characteristic boyhood fashion, their attention immediately drawn to the garden shed, which sat along the back fence line. The few remaining yard tools left by the previous residents consisted of a couple of rakes, a shovel, and a small garden trowel which the boys used to explore a dirt mound in the otherwise overgrown side yard. A mound that would yield an unexpected windfall in the form of 2 small, innocent-looking molded plastic figurines of some unrecognizable prehistoric creatures, one green and the other yellow. Creatures that would in subsequent weeks rise from within their new home deep inside the boys' toy chest and assume an identity all their own. An identity of unrivaled, impish behavior that thrust itself into the nighttime realm of our unsuspecting young subjects. For the boys, it began as an unexplained overnight upheaval of their bedroom, a disturbance that left most of their personal effects in disarray, scattered and thrown about the room, resulting in a disorder of unparalleled enormity. The parents did not believe their denial. The boys' punishment? To stand with their noses in a corner and to clean the room yet again. Night after night the frenzy continued, while day after day the penalty imposed. The boys began to suspect each other as the cause, and tensions arose between them. The oldest of the 3 was bullying in his demeanor of the 2 younger, knowing only that he had not been the reason for their shared plight, and feeling justified in the apportionment of his own brand of retribution. The younger 2 brothers, Each knew that they were not responsible for the commotion that ensued each evening either, but neither had the ability of the oldest to displace the resentment in some other way. Therefore, a fortnight had continued. During this same period, other unnatural incidents affected other family members in uncanny yet similar ways. The middle of the three sisters, although only 5, did on several occasions uncharacteristically fall down the steps from the bedrooms upstairs, once receiving injuries sufficient to render her unconscious. She claimed that she had felt a hand on her back, as though she had been pushed. Evidence was never produced to either prove or disprove her claim. An overactive imagination, or an outright lie, was always the conclusion of the aforementioned parents. The mother, too, experienced episodes of a peculiar nature. She often heard footsteps on the staircase in some late hour, and she would rush to see which of her children was up and sneaking about. She had so wanted to believe her 3 sons' protestations of innocence that she expected to find one of them roaming the house in a sleepwalking trance. She had hoped that this would also solve the mystery of the boys' bedroom clutter, but the stairs were always empty. On other occasions, the mother would suddenly wake from a deep sleep to see the shadowy figure of an unknown man standing at the foot of her bed. Though appearing to be non-threatening, the figure always brought with him a foreboding sense of discomfort, and he would fade away, leaving the mother to question if she had actually seen him at all. Although having all of the pieces of this mystical puzzle, the sum of the parts were never associated with each other, and the mystery never solved. In later years, the mother correlated the events experienced by all into a credible conjecture that the house had indeed had an affliction of supernatural origin. During the warm summer nights, the boys would sit for hours on the gently sloped roof of the front porch just outside their twin windows of the dormer in their bedroom. This afforded a perfect view of the giant jetliners on final approach to the airport, the faces of the weary travelers clearly visible through the portholes. They discussed the attributes of the aircraft, the possible origination of the flight, and the marvel of engineering being witnessed. They wondered if someday they too would experience the fascination of such phenomenal high-speed travel. On one such night during the lull between the arriving flights, they discussed something else too. It would seem that the boys, while having a shared experience in one aspect, had each individually recounted other frightful occurrences to each other, occurrences with all too fearsome familiarity one to another. Each gave an account of having awakened to the muffled sounds of some unknown movement just feet away in the early pre-dawn hours, and knowing too that his brothers were there with him, snuggled in the same full bed that they shared. Too terrified to look from beneath the protective cover, but also unable to ignore the temptation to peel back the cloak for one small peek. A glimpse into the dominion of the unexplained, a glimpse that would transform into an uncontrollable, disbelieving stare. What each had seen could not be described within the usual boundaries of normality. It is not normal to see the disfigured and disproportionate, brightly colored, life-size iconic representations of the 2 found figurines romping about the room, and yet there they were. brawling and struggling like two giant sumo wrestlers, displacing all in their path, seemingly locked in a great effort to each conquer the other, though somehow unified in their mutual effort to test the courage of these particular lads, for neither did the presence of the boys go unnoticed by the creatures. Throughout their clashes, either beast would alternately turn to look directly into the panicky eyes of the young beholder, as if in evaluation of the audience of their horrifying display. Their bright red, laser-like eyes penetrating deep within the darkest chambers of the youth's innermost soul, inflicting the paralyzing sting of frozen panic, a chilling leer of enormous gleaming incisors, and hence the evil encounters. Those spoken words were not wrought. A fiendish, presumably telepathic message of terror was transmitted, a message to keep silent. Until now, each of the boys had kept that silence, fearful to speak the truth, lest the consequence be lethal. Having now dared to confront the fear together, had effect to integrate the three and to bolster their collective courage, they resolved to share the next ghastly affair that unquestionably would come that very night. As the night wore and the conversation waned, the boys' determination to solve the mystery and confront their fear weakened, and yet it had to be done. The cloak of secrecy that had shielded them thus far was secret no more. It was as if speaking about the encounters had destined them to this inevitable, terrible confrontation. They were afraid. They also knew that further postponement would change nothing. And so it was with reluctant resolve that they climbed back through the window to await the unavoidable occurrence in the dark, shadowy